Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Good afternoon, Rotarians and guests. Wonderful to see you all here. We are going to start things off with the four-way test, prayer, and pledge, led by Elizabeth Clogston, then guest introductions with Pamela Smith. We'll invite Elizabeth to the front to start things off.
Good afternoon. Would you please join me in the four-way test? Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Please bow your heads. Creator of the universe, we thank you for the opportunity together today to learn how we can serve our community. We especially ask for your blessing on teachers and students as they begin another school year. We ask for wisdom and guidance for their teachers and their leaders, and we ask for a spirit of learning to be instilled in these students. We specifically ask for your blessing for Dunbar Magnet and Gibbs Elementary, the two schools that our club is in service to. We ask these things in your name. Amen. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Terrific Tuesday, Rotarians. Good afternoon. I guess it must not be a terrific Tuesday. We'll try that again. Terrific Tuesday, Rotarians. It's a call and response. Thank you for the opportunity to introduce our wonderful guests today. Because we have a number of them in the room, we are going to ask the Rotarian who invited them and the guests to please stand at this time so we may formally welcome and celebrate you. Please stand. Thank you for spending your day with us, and we trust that you will leave with a wealth of information, and those of you who are not members ready to join. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Pamela, and thank you to today's greeters, Rick Fleetwood, Melissa Hendricks, Kim Kirkman, and Mary Lackey. Thank you all for the smiling faces up front. Starting off announcements with a big thank you to our volunteers at the Dunbar Back to School Bash. Dunbar Committee Chair Mitzi Tharp and 9 other volunteers, including our grill master, Don Cole, were able to serve over 300 burgers and hot dogs to the families of Dunbar students. They also delivered school supplies collected and donated by our friends at Eat My Catfish and gave students a little cool swag drawstring backpack with the Dunbar logo printed on it. It was a great evening. Thank you, Mitzi, Don, and all our volunteers. For those of you who missed out, we do have another cookout opportunity for Club 99ers today. That's hosted by Mary and Ed Levy on the river in honor of our Ottenheimer guests from Madagascar, Michaela and Salohi. All are welcome. Please swing by and say hi. Also, this Thursday is our first meeting of the Club 99 Book Club for this Rotary year, a lunch hosted by Steve Stracely at Catholic High, reviewing the book Stolen Focus by Johan Hari. Don't worry if you hadn't read it yet. It should be a great facilitated discussion for all. Next, we're going to have a few announcements from Elizabeth Clogston on the Gibbs Elementary Partnership and a quick primer for next week's program from Chris Mangum. Elizabeth?
In partnership with Gibbs Elementary, we are doing a 10-week test of a different literacy impacting program. The program is called Book Nook, and we hope to serve 15 rising or current first and second graders to help. These are the students who did not pass their literacy competency for grade level at the end of last year. And as you remember, our goal is for all of the students to be at reading at grade level for third grade. So the school would like for us to help these students get to grade level now so that when they're going to third grade, they'll be where they need to be. That we will be doing 30-minute sessions. They will be from 7:10 a.m. to 7:40 a.m., which that is when Gibbs Elementary begins their school day. So we are looking for volunteers. There will be Monday, Wednesday tutoring sessions, and Tuesday, Thursday tutoring sessions. So we are hoping to have 3 to 4 Rotarians to a child so that, we never miss one of the sessions in the 10 weeks, and we're not asking our Rotarians to give more time than you can commit. So we will be sending out an online registration form. Please look for that. There will be a team captain for each student who will be the point of contact if something happens and your assigned day, you cannot be there. You can reach out to the team captain and they'll work on getting somebody to fill in for you. Again, it's 30 minutes, it's before work, so our goal is 45 to 60 volunteers to cover 15 students. And just be looking for more information. One last point, if you are not VIPS certified, you will need to do VIPS training before you can start working with a child at Gibbs. And we will be coordinating a training day for those people who want to volunteer and need their VIPS training. Our goal is to start with the students the first full week of school after Labor Day.
Appreciate the great turnout today, and looking forward to hopefully a good turnout next Thursday. Let me tell you, next Tuesday, let me tell you what we have going on. We talked when I was giving a little bit of a glimpse into what we were trying to do this year about trying to do some in-meeting service events. And this is where if you can't make it to one of the service events, kind of outside of the meetings, we're going to try to create a couple of those this year where you can actually participate in the meeting. And so next Tuesday, in collaboration with the Central Arkansas Library System, I don't know if Nate is here or not, but so we're going to be filling kits. These are basically bags of essentials for the unhomed in the Central Arkansas area. The Central Arkansas Library System accommodates a lot of folks who are homeless in the Little Rock area. And so they routinely give out these bags to provide toiletries, water, just essential stuff. And so next Tuesday, what we're going to do is we're going to set up an assembly line over in that part of the room, and we're going to give everybody an opportunity. We'll have a program that talks about Providence Park, which is a development to try to accommodate homeless people in Central Arkansas. We'll talk about that. Nate will talk a little about it, and Aaron Sanger. We'll talk a little bit about it. And then we're going to spend about 15, 20 minutes with everybody stuffing those packages. Anyone who wants to stay a little bit later can participate in that too. But here's the challenge. I don't have a number for the record participation for this club in a volunteer event, but I'd like to smash that record next Tuesday, whatever it is. So if everyone can try to make a point to come out and participate, bring a friend, bring a guest, bring 10, however we can accomplish it. Would really appreciate the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Chris. In line with our Rotary theme for this year, which is Global Hearts, Local Hands, I've decided to use my President's Minute to highlight Rotary clubs around the globe. There are more than 46,000 clubs worldwide. We'll take a minute to learn about different clubs, one other one a week, from their history, membership, or the special projects that they support. This week, I thought we would enjoy a visit to the Emerald Isle in honor of our speaker. Ireland currently has 69 clubs throughout the country, representing almost 1,400 active Rotarians, with the largest club being the oldest. The Dublin Rotary Club is actually the first club established outside of North America, founded in 1911 and officially chartered in 1913. A fact that seems a little bit contentious because multiple websites point out that although the Dublin Club was organized first, it did not receive its charter until after the London Club was chartered in 1912. Regardless of the origin, the Dublin Club has made their presence known over the last century, with service projects ranging from a reforestation project where they fundraise by selling Christmas cards and train youth on the importance of conservation. Recently, they have crossed 600 children who have actively planted a tree, all the way to their annual rubber duck race where they raise money to the End Polio Now campaign. They also host a summer barbecue to support a school in Zambia that is exclusively for children orphaned by AIDS. They maintain the Alice Leahy Trust to assist homeless people in Dublin, and recently hosted the Leonardo da Vinci Award, an annual award started by the Rotary Club of Florence in 1975 and maintained by 11 European Rotary clubs. They award €12,100 scholarship to a student in the arts or a science discipline that is associated with Leonardo da Vinci. It is clear to see that this club of 45 members are true Rotarians of action, and so this week we toast their continued efforts of the Rotary Club of Dublin, Ireland. Next, I will invite Chris Glover to the podium to introduce today's speakers. Chris?
Well, I'd like to start by saying it's such an honor and a privilege to get to introduce our presenters for today's program, Frank O'Mara and Gary Taylor. Gary will be moderating a discussion with Frank on Frank's new book, Bend, Don't Break. I don't know if you've seen a copy of it. I understand that these will be available for purchase, and if you want an autographed book, I'm going to send you to Chuck, or they can announce it at the end, how you do that. So we'll leave it with Chuck. The book chronicles Frank's running and business accomplishments and setbacks and how they prepared him for his fight against early onset Parkinson's disease. Now let me give you a little bit of information about our presenters for the day. First, London native, and that's not London, Arkansas, that's London across the pond native, Gary Taylor, showed an early talent for running, breaking the 16-year-old world record in the 1,500 meters at 16 and running a sub-4-minute mile at age 18. To say having an early talent, that's probably an understatement, I believe. In 1982, Taylor joined the University of Arkansas track team, where he was a two-time All-American, won multiple conference titles, set a world record in the distance medley, and ran the top two fastest 1,500-meter splits in the history of the pin relays, a time that actually still stands to this day, which is extremely impressive. His proudest honor was captaining the U of A cross-country team to an NCAA championship. Regarding his business achievements, Gary has worked in senior leadership positions for Walmart and Alltel, and is currently the managing director of operations for Sowell Management, a financial services company in North Little Rock. Frank O'Mara is a former runner, a three-time Olympian, and was twice the world indoor champion in the 3,000 meters. Frank had a highly successful track career at the University of Arkansas and went on to earn postgraduate degrees from the U of A. Frank enjoyed a successful career in the wireless industry with Alltel. Frank was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's disease at the age of 48. Now, if you could humor me for just a second, I want to give you a little bit more insight about Frank that's not covered in that skimpy bio he provided. But I can do this because I know Frank from a previous life. That's not from his business career. It's definitely not from his running career. But I knew him. We were law school classmates together. And Frank was the kind of student that students like me both genuinely admired and also genuinely envied. Because you see, Frank was he was now a professional runner. He was still at the peak of his running career. And so he didn't come to class a lot. So he missed a lot of classes, and I'm sure he'll tell you that. And so we would were amazed at how well he would do in school, having missed class after class. So while Frank was busy chasing world records in Spain, Olympic medals all over the world, I was busy chasing a C+ in constitutional law. I want to share, and to add injury to insult, Frank was probably one of the nicest guys in our law school class. It was infuriating at times. But I want to share a little quick story. Somebody had the harebrained idea to set up a race between Frank and our law school class. And I may have had a little bit of something to do with that. I won't admit that. But so here's how it was going to work. Frank was going to run 20 laps on the oval track, and that's if you know the distances, that's 5 miles, right? So he was going to run 5 miles, and 20 of us were going to run 1 time around the track. So it's Frank 20 times, and each of us 1 time, and I bet you can guess who won that race. Just like Frank. Despite all this and him taking time out to humor us, mere mortals in track, Frank still finished near the very top of our class in law school, which was amazing. Frank has shown us how to be a champion on the racetrack, a champion in the classroom, and a champion in business. And now in this difficult chapter in his life, he's once again showing us how to be a champion in adversity, a Parkinson's warrior. So please join me in welcoming Frank O'Mara and Gary Taylor to the stage.
Hello? Oh, there we go. Okay, hello everybody. Again, I'm Gary Taylor. This is Frank O'Mara, author of Bend Don't Break.
Just to forewarn you, my voice isn't great. So I have Gary here to keep me going.
Yeah.
So you go ahead and start.
Well, I got it. So Frank and I have known each other for some 40 years. We've been University of Arkansas track teammates. We roomed together for quite a while. We worked together. Our kids have grown up together. We've coached together. So I think we're well on the way to being lifelong friends. So it's been a pleasure. So yeah, so you didn't come here to listen to me, but unfortunately you might hear me quite a bit.
That's right.
So yeah, so Frank has been affected by Parkinson's in several ways, and his voice is definitely one of them. So Frank's going to read from some notes. So am I, because he threw a ton of facts at me. So I got to keep it straight. He runs a tight ship. So. Anyway, yeah, I'm going to help you navigate through this.
Okay.
All right? Yeah. So let's go, if we can, to the first video. Let's just start off. Let's go. Let's start out by remembering how a lot of athletes around the world, and a lot of track fans around the world know Frank and remember him. And Frank's the guy in the green shirt at the front.
Now struggling. This is where it's going to count. Padilla tries to make a move, and O'Mara covers him. Donovan in third, Brahm in fourth. Roland is out of it. Kariuki looks to be struggling too. It's shaping up like Ireland against America. The crowd rise. to greet Doug Padilla as he comes to take the bell. Brahm moves up the outside. O'Mara's in front of the bell. O'Mara takes Padilla, tries to hold him off. Padilla responds. 150 meters to go. It's Padilla from O'Mara. Donovan is struggling. Rowland comes again and O'Mara goes. And Padilla has gone. It's up to Brahm to try and catch him. Frank O'Mara goes and chases goal. Has he gone too soon? Just over 50 meters to go. And Frank O'Mara is coming home for Ireland's second gold medal of these championships. Paul Donovan comes up to 10th for silver. O'Mara wins it. Donovan gets second. 1-2 for Ireland.
Well done again.
I like to think I had 3 stages in my life. The first stage was I was 14 years as a professional runner. Stayed 14 years I worked for Altel, and the last 14 years I've been fighting Parkinson's. So that was a good career, but I don't consider that anything to do with me anymore. I see myself as a Parkinson's warrior number 1. Can we go to the next one?
I had so much good stuff on there, but let's move on.
Wait, Bill's starting to talk.
I had another career after athletics. I was the chief marketing officer for Altel Wireless, and we were suddenly sold to Verizon January the 8th, 2009 for $29 billion. And of course they had one of me already. They had their own chief marketing officer, so I was terminated immediately. And I'm happy about that too. And the next day, I went on a run with Gary. This is the very next day, and my first symptom of Parkinson's showed itself the next day.
So yeah, I was thinking about this last night, and I hope I don't get emotional about it. But so we went out on a run with Frank and Mark Anderson. Mark's a doctor, and the 3 of us coached Catholic high school for a long time. And so going out for a run for us wasn't an unusual thing. But during that run, Frank's leg faltered and kind of gave way on him. And being runners, we're all well attuned to injuries and problems. And so, you know, we all thought it might be a cramp or a muscle spasm or something. So Frank, do this, stretch this, do that, let's go. So we carried on a little way, and I think it happened again and again. And I think we pretty much ended up walking it in, if I remember. So when we get back to the parking lot, Frank, you know, we were talking about, well, let's go ice it, stretch it, whatever. So Frank was determined to get back to the house quickly to treat this. And Mark Anderson, Dr. Mark Anderson says to me, hey, Gary, I need to talk to you for a minute. And so Frank takes off in his car and leaves me with Mark. And Mark says to me, I don't like the look of that. And I said, what do you mean? I said, he's going to be fine. He said, no, I think that's neurological. And that was the first time Parkinson's reared its ugly head, and several doctor visits later and some prompting by Patty to go see some specialists. And we know what it was.
Yeah, often diseases can lay dormant for a long time, and stress brings them out. And losing my job certainly was stressful. And if you recall, in 2008, the mortgage securities disaster in the United States, many people's portfolios declined by 50 or 60%. So it came right in the heels of that. And it was just so stressful that I believe that brought it out. But I was in denial for many, many years. And eventually I accepted the fact that I had early onset Parkinson's. And it got pretty bad. At one stage, I had severe neck cramps that were pulling my head so far to the left that I couldn't breathe. And my wife would have to force my head up and to open the passageway so I could breathe. And every morning, it went on for about 45 minutes every morning. And Parkinson's has about 40 different symptoms. It can be cramping, it can be freezing. Often, if I'm standing by the sink and I use one hand to turn on the water, other hand to hold the glass, perhaps trying to fill up the glass. That's sending 2 commands, one to my left hand, one to my right hand. I'm also sending commands to my legs. That's 3 commands, and it overloads the system, and I just freeze. I could be standing there for 10 minutes by myself, trying to convince myself to move left, move right, squat up and down, anything to release me from the freezing episode. So I won't bore you with it, but it's a crazy disease. It's different for everybody. But they say that when you get early onset Parkinson's, that you don't progress or regress, whichever way you want to look at it, very quickly. But mine progressed very, very fast. Next.
So let's go to the next slide. So when I first saw this slide, I thought Frank was showing his office at Alltel or something, but what it is, you know, I'm a big believer in we're each a product of every person we've ever met or every experience we've ever encountered, and it shapes us in some way. These what look like cubicles here, office cubicles. Frank went to boarding school at age 11, and he lived in this cubicle. He slept in this cubicle every night for 6 years. Somewhere between 6 a.m. Morning mass every day. They had 10 o'clock prayer every night, and somewhere they fit some education in between that. But Frank was there for those 6 years. And I think he made occasional trips home for summer and Christmas, and spent the rest of his time away at 11 years old.
I put this up to make the point that past experiences can help you cope. And boarding school was definitely a place where I encountered real discipline for the first time in my life. And but being a boarder taught me how to compartmentalize. And compartmentalize is very, very important. You're taught that everything has its place. There's a time to worry. There's a time to be sad, a time to be joyful, time to work hard. But and it also taught me that when the boat gets overloaded, throw things overboard. But I literally figured out how to put worry off till tomorrow. And it's a skill you can develop. You say, I'll worry about that tomorrow. And it's now time to work or time to do whatever you're meant to do. So compartmentalization is a very important coping mechanism for me.
And, you know, Frank's being humble here because I think part of this is Frank's discipline he's had in everything in his life. Chris, you know this from the way he would be on a trip studying for his exams and probably beating you guys at the exams too, but he's done everything like that. So, you know, I think when you read the book, this is the crux of the book, that Frank has been faced with so many difficult situations, whether it be the selling of Alltel, running the markets after Alltel, was, you know, the diversification. Situations he's had in his life, he's learned to cope with this, and that's why he's doing it with such grace and determination.
Next.
Okay, here we go. Now some stuff I really know how to talk about. So these pictures are from the same year. This is 1981. It was the first year that Arkansas went to the Penn Relays in Philadelphia. And I mentioned earlier on, it's a pretty big meet. We just got watching the Olympics, didn't we? And it was, if you saw there the Olympics, there were 75,000 people at the Olympic finals day every day. In Philadelphia at the Penn Relays, there are about 48,000 people there every day. So for a college meet, it's massive. In this race here, Frank is, what day? Well, let's go to day one first of all. So on the first day, Frank was running up against Villanova. They had perennially been the dominant force in distance running, and they had won 17 distance medley relay races in a row. Distance medley is 3/4 of a mile, quarter of a mile, half a mile, mile. Frank got to run the final leg, the mile, against that guy there called Sidney Marie. And this is the day after. But in distance medley relay, Frank got beaten by over 30 meters, and to the chagrin of John McDonald, the coach, who pretty much was mad and ignored you for the rest of the day, if I understand that right.
Yeah, he drove off, left me to trap by myself on my own way home. Didn't feed me that night. And the next morning he said, "You're anchoring, kid." He always called you kid when you were in his good graces.
So the next day, so basically, I don't think that wasn't the row yourself back to Ireland comment, was it?
No.
Okay, but so the next day, Frank is anchoring the 4x1 mile relay. So Frank and Sidney Marie here go head-to-head again. Now, to put it in context, Sydney Marie's not just another Villanova runner. Sydney Marie went on to break the world record for the mile a year or two later after this picture was taken. So Frank might have been a bit intimidated on the first day, but through some motivational help from John McDonald, he has a different attitude today. So Frank, as he said, was by an obliging teammate, handed him a 1 meter lead over Sydney Marie. Now, that's a joke in running, because the last place you want to be in running is 1 meter ahead of a former, a future world record holder. So Sydney did what he should have done, and he sat on Frank the whole way. Sydney makes a move at the bell, Frank's holding him off. Sydney makes another move, Frank holds him off, and this goes on all the way around to the final last few meters. And if you know Penn relays, the crowd is going nuts at this point because Villanova's the home team. Sydney edged out Frank again, but just by a meter. And I think John was good with that, because John always said, any day you might get beaten by somebody better, but if you've given it 100%, you can walk off with your head held high. Whereas if you don't give it 100% and you get beat, you got to live with that for the rest of your life. So I think John was happy.
I put this one up to illustrate the fact that you can learn more from your failures than you do from your successes. From failure, you learn to work harder, to persevere, you learn to be a realist, you learn patience. Because it took me 2 years to avenge that loss. 2 years later, we won this particular event. And, from success, you merely learn how to celebrate. And failure is a lot more instructive than success is. I've failed a bunch in my life, so I got a wealth of...
Why are you so successful? So again, with this as well, Frank paved the way for the rest of Arkansas. So I think all you know now, the Arkansas track team has all these accolades, 42 national championships. Well, I guess now it's up to 47 or something, but we have all these accolades, but Frank was really the groundbreaker for that. I think Frank made us all believe, every athlete after that believed that we could win. It wasn't just little Arkansas. We were a powerhouse. So after this, we won many. We became more of a powerhouse than Villanova. We won more national championships than anybody. So Frank was the first individual national champion at Arkansas. So he paved the way.
Thank you. And next, we wanted to show you...
Next. So from this to this. So after Parkinson's kind of got a bit of a grip on Frank's life, he constantly goes into Frank mode, and he's finding better ways that he can overcome this and do better and do more things. He knew about DBS, deep brain stimulation. He knew about this, but he also knew that the technology they were using at the time when he could have had the surgery was old technology, and there was more coming up, better technology coming. So Frank, being Frank, did his research, and he waited and he held out, and he finally had the DBS surgery done. What year was that?
2000 and... I don't remember.
It was, yeah.
4 years ago.
4 years ago, yeah. So I'll read this. I want to read this because I want to explain what's going on in here, and I want to get it right. So during a 5-hour surgery in which the patient is kept fully awake to assist the surgeon with optimum placement, the neurosurgeon drills 2 holes through the skull into the patient's brain and inserts 2 electrical wires. These wires are ultimately attached to a generator inserted in the chest, and electricity is run constantly to that region deep in the brain. This blocks malfunctioning neural pathways and forces the brain to use alternative, less efficient routes.
So it seems barbaric, really, when they come at you with a DeWalt drill. Put that thing in your head. But it's really not that bad, I guess. But I'm much improved since DBS surgery. Much improved. I no longer have those neck cramps that were so debilitating, preventing me from breathing. Most of my unwanted body motion is gone. I sit fairly steady in the chair. I still have trouble walking and talking. And the surgery really gave me back my life and allowed me to set some goals for myself. And I had a childhood dream of exploring both the North and South Pole, and I managed to do that. So the next one's about my big trip post-surgery.
And it was, if you know Frank, it was great to be around that journey with him as this happened, and he evolved back into who he was more. Just listening to the phone calls that he was excited about. He went down to the track and he walked a lap, and then he went down the track and he walked 2 laps, and then he went down the track and he ran a lap. And that was wonderful to listen to that improvement.
I didn't run a lap.
You did. Probably wasn't very fast, Frank.
So to get to the South Pole, you have to go to the tip of South America. It's called Ushuaia. It's in Argentina. And from there, it's 48 hours across what's called the Drake Passage, which is where the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans meet. And it's the most turbulent water in the world. And my wife wouldn't go with me. She's afraid of the bathtub. And so I found a friend, and he watched a video on YouTube about how rough the seas are down there. And he cried off, he wouldn't go. So I found somebody who didn't understand where he was going. And so I managed to do 2 pretty severe climbs when I was down there. There's me on the left. The big picture on the right, the lady next to me in the sunglasses, her name is Kathy Sullivan. She's the first woman to walk in space. And she's also been to the bottom of the Mariana Trench, which is the deepest part of the ocean. So she calls herself the most vertical woman in the world. She's been up here and down here. But,
So I'll just mainly comment, and this is the Frank we all know and love. You know, Frank, when he wants to go somewhere, he doesn't travel around a little bit. He goes to the North Pole and the South Pole after having 2 years after DBS surgery. So this is Frank. He also didn't mention that the boat trip he took from Argentina to get to this place, he crossed the Drake Passage. And if you've read the book Endurance, which Frank has, and he kind of loves that book, and this is the passage they crossed, and it didn't go well for them, and they ended up on an iceberg for like years. So, you know, Frank just wanted to go do that.
So you need a purpose to get through life, to get through days, actually. And any goal you set needs to stretch you. If it's not stretching you, you're losing. One of my goals is always to be present, always, to live in the now, because tomorrow is another day after all. And that's all we got.
That's all we've got. Thank you.
We thought we'd highlight. Can we show those last 2 slides, please? You show the other one first. Just give you guys an Olympic update. United States the most medals with 126. Great Britain was 7th with 65. And Ireland were 19th with 7. It's about 5 more we've ever had. We had a gold in 2-man rowing, swimming, pommel horse, and female boxing. But
Great Britain did well, Frank, I noticed up here.
7th, yeah. But both China and US had 40 golds each, but US had more all-round medals. But the highlight I want to make here is the US men's head track coach was Stanley Redwine, who's an Arkansas graduate, on All-American. Can you change the next one, please? Can you change the next line? And I put this up because remember, I was beaten in the Penn Relays in 1981. This is 1983, and when we won it for the first time, and Stanley's on the left there, and he's the U.S. men's coach. The men got medals in 9 of 10 individual events in the Olympics, which is the most by any country ever since the Olympics was formed. So Stanley did a tremendous job. So well done, USA.
Going to take some questions.
Yeah.
Questions? Okay. Any questions?
It is great to see the English and the Irish get along.
Hey, Jay, I had 2 victories today, though. We had the first Rotary Club, and then we had medals, so it's good.
Where did you receive your medical treatment?
Well, I had the implants put in at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota, but I had all the fine tuning. It takes 2 years for it to optimize, because you can change amplitude, frequency, voltage. So the combination of that, you have to try different combinations to get it right. And it took all of 2 years to get it correct. Now, I've had the impulse generator replaced once, and it was done here in Little Rock with Dr. Peterson. But the book I dedicate to all the neurologists in my life, because I got about 12 of them. And it was a team effort. Thank you for that question.
2 questions. First, real quick, is are you able to drive?
I can drive fine, yeah. Don't be frightened. When I sit, my best position is sitting. I can do most things when I sit, but standing, I look a bit shaky. And walking, I'll tell you one of the most difficult things, but have a disease like this is handicap parking. I mean, for years, I looked at people askance when they were parking at handicap spots. And I still won't park in one if I can walk decent. But so I probably park there about 5 cents at a time.
And second question is, do you have a daily exercise routine that you do?
Oh, yeah. I mean, exercise, a routine, sticking to a routine when you eat, when you take a medicine, when you sleep, when you get up, when you go to bed. And it's absolutely crucial. And exercise is the only thing I know of that would slow down a progressive neurodegenerative disease like Parkinson's. And I find if I exercise short periods, multiple times a day, is much better than doing once heavy. Yeah.
I have a question. So this is for both of you all, Arkansas track and field legends. How do you feel about the future of the track and field program at the U of A? Both the men's and the women's, indoor and outdoor. How do you feel it's going there?
Well, we have a coach, and he's done, I would say, you have to say he's done well. He's won 2 national championships. We used to win 40. And he's about 67, 68, probably coaching for another 2 or 3 years. Then the question becomes, do they merge the men's and women's programs into one? The women's coach is really, really good. And he coached British medalists in this Olympics. He coached Jamaicans in addition to US natives. So I think it'll probably go in his hands, and he's quite good. But Arkansas has become a sprinting school now. We used to be a distance school. Now we're a sprinting school. In the NCAA women's 400 this past year, we had 1, 2, 3, and 4, which has never been done before in any event ever. So I think we're in safe hands.
Yeah, merging the teams has done very well, the men's and women's, for other universities, and so it almost like it's where your coach is in his life, position, life cycle of being a coach, and so at some point they'll merge them together, and it seems to be going very well.
Frank, it's a clean question, don't worry. So in your book, when it talks about you going to boarding school, you're a little bit kid, you were picked on, and then all of a sudden you kind of rose to the top like you have everything else in life. Tell that little story about when all of a sudden you started running in boarding school?
About the dining room.
Yeah.
Well, we had a thing we called a dining room boarding school, the refectory. And after the meals, the priests would all you lined up, and the first to get to a basketball court or a handball court or a soccer field, that person reserved that court for the next until study started. So we would we'd all line up by the door, and the priest would go in the name of the Father and the Son, the Holy. He wouldn't say Spirit. The guy with the false start, they get sent back to the back, and he'd go again in the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. And then the race would start. You'd run like crazy. I remember on boarding school, there was nothing to do. It was totally boring. So if you didn't get one of these courts during recreation, you were sitting there twiddling your thumbs. So the fastest person out, and people would be careened up against the wall, spattered against the wall, and that's when I discovered I was fast. Because some of the seniors would have me run for them, because I could get to the court quickest. But I'll never get the priest create false starts with the. See, that's a good example of my Parkinson's. I can answer questions where I know the answer. I don't have to assemble the answer in the background. Like my memory is good, but my RAM is not big enough. So I can't process the sequence of the story to tell it real time. And it's called cognitive speech issues. Like if you ask me how am I doing, I'd say fine. If you ask me to tell you a story that involved thinking in the background, I just can't do it. So that was a hard question for me, Kenny. Shame on you.
Okay, one more question over here.
Thank you very much for your inspiring story. So I would like to ask, how did you overcome all the challenges you had in your life? And what is the secret for a successful life? Thank you.
That's a tough question. I'm processing. I honestly think that you are the aggregate of all your experiences, and you shouldn't be ashamed of anything. You can grow from any kind of experience. You just need to learn. But I think my most solid advice is live now. I mean, I could think about how bad I might be in 10 years or 5 years or 1 year, or I might never get that bad. So don't ever think about worst case scenarios. Just keep pushing, keep pushing, keep pushing, and live in the now. And remember, today is tomorrow. You were worried about yesterday. So live now. That's my advice.
Can I say something there too? Is find a guy like this. You know, be around good people, which you are here, kind of thing. Surround yourself with good people. And I'm not being corny, but there aren't many days in my life, in my business life, where I don't think about what would Frank do right now. And so just being around somebody like this, we've been around each other for a long time, and knowing his experiences and the way he reacts, learn from these people here.
Frank, the DBS treatment seems to be pretty revolutionary. Are there new things on the horizon that you think could further improve plight of Parkinson's?
There are. The lead that goes into your head originally had 4 electrodes at the end of it. Each electrode was 360 degrees. You turned it on 360, or you turned it off. Now they have these new leads. They have 3 120s. You can have this angle, or this angle. So you can turn it off or in 3 places at the one level. So if you imagine that lead is looking for an area of your brain that's the size of a grain of rice. So it's going to be very, very accurate. And so often you won't get it quite in the middle, you get it at the edge. If you turn on 360, it bleeds over the edge into a neighboring portion of your brain, which can cause balance issues, speech issues, any sort of issue. So the fact that you can target the direction of the current is critical. Also with the new technology, you can push different voltages to the different electrodes. So you can have more stimulation here or here or here. And I fortunately got the latest technology in my head, but not in my chest. So I have to have that changed shortly. But the doctors here at UMS are spectacular in the neurology department. And we have a bunch of movement disorder specialists who are really, really good.
So, hi, this is for both you guys. Is there a particular life lesson or takeaway from Coach McConnell that had a real impact on your life and still to this day?
I'll tell you one. He said to me one day, I was running poorly, and before the race started, he leaned in up against my ear, and he said, "If you don't hand the baton off in first place, you're rowing your ass home to Ireland." He actually said, "You're rowing your feckin' ass home to Ireland." So he was one of these coaches that had different messages for every athlete. Some athletes need to be cuddled, and if you put your arm around them and tell them they're great. Others need to be told to grow up and earn their scholarship. He had so many different techniques for different people. He wasn't a one-trick pony. And all of us who've managed people know that some people need encouragement, some people don't need encouragement, and some people need pats on their back. And I learned from him, treat people as their character requires.
Frank, I think the other one we've talked about is he was relentlessly consistent. It was just from week in, week out. If it was this time of the year, if it's April, middle of April, we're probably doing this on the track. And he was always the first one to the track. He's the last one to leave. There was no inconsistency, even in the discipline kind of thing. You knew it was coming. It was going to be consistent. You weren't not going to get disciplined. He wasn't going. And so that was just one thing about him. You just knew who he was. There was no surprises.
So just real quick on books. Chuck, you want to talk about the availability of the books?
Wordsworth is out here. She'll process if you want to buy a book, and she can help get you autographed.
And by the way, I'm giving all my proceeds to Parkinson's research. So it's for a good cause. It's the fastest growing neurodegenerative disease in the world. And it's going to double this year, apparently. There's 10 million sufferers in the world, 1 million in the US. So I hear about people who have it all the time. So it's crazy. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, and I apologize for my voice. I apologize for my voice.
Thank you, Frank, for sharing your story and your drive. As a thank you to our presenters, we've commissioned local Arkansan Sage Holland, a master bead maker out of Mountain Home, Arkansas, to make a commemorative bead representing our Rotary Year theme of Global Hearts, Local Hands. Hopefully, it will serve as a pleasant reminder for the time you had with our club today. A quick reminder for the invite for the cookout on the river this evening with our Artenheimer students, at Ed Levy's house. Hopefully you can make it. And next Tuesday, Chris mentioned it, but we'll welcome Erin Stanger, CEO of Providence Park, to discuss her vision for the permanent housing community, and we will be able to keep our hands busy during that time with that project. Thank you all for being here. Hopefully you can make it next week.